Known as one of the most important aerospace companies in the world, Boeing once dominated every possible market in the industry, from commercial flights to the courier industry to military weaponry. However, behind all the popularity derived from its large aircraft lay a secret so dark it could end hundreds of lives in mere seconds. Welcome back to Corporate Catalysts, where we take a look at the world's most fascinating brands, businesses, and icons. Today, we'll dive into the story of Boeing, an aviating giant that is now a shadow of the prestigious company it once was. Amid allegations, investigations, and accusations of negligence, this company is in the eye of the storm. Get ready to discover the true story of Boeing. The beginnings of this company date back to the 20th century, when William E. Boeing ventured into the lumber industry in the United States. Little did he know that he would eventually be involved in aircraft manufacturing. He was educated at Yale University, where he honed his skills in the lumber industry. But everything changed in 1910, when he decided to attend an air show in California. The way the planes maneuvered in the sky, the eccentric sound of the engines, and the realization of what had been only a dream drew him deeply into this world. He began to study the subject and bought his first plane, the Martin hydroplane, in which he learned to fly. This hobby gradually turned into a passion, all within the same year. In March 1910, he decided to buy his own shipyard. With the knowledge he had gained in the lumber and assembly industries, he was able to move into aircraft construction. This led to the formation of his first company, initially called Pacific Aero Products, which years later would become known as the Boeing Airplane Company. But before we get to that part of the story, let's talk about the first seaplane produced by his company, the B&W, which was developed in Seattle. This would be a historic moment for his work. But what helped catapult his creation was not innovation, but rather war, specifically World War I. This war brought with it not only the implementation of much more powerful military armaments, but also the first warplanes. Boeing, of course, offered its services to the United States Navy, which led to several years of prosperity from 1914 to 1918. And of course, after the crisis caused by the immense quantity of warplanes on the market, Boeing decided to make a new investment. In 1919, the first flight of the Boeing B-1 was inaugurated, transitioning from military use to one of the first international mail planes between Seattle and Columbia, England, all under the direction of Edward Hubbard. Throughout the 1920s, various types of aircraft were developed, from military to courier planes, but it wasn't until 1928 that the first commercially viable airliner was developed. This marked a turning point in aviation, with a successful flight carrying 12 passengers. It marked Boeing's transition from a company that built airplanes for enthusiasts to one that developed military aircraft, then innovated in the postal industry, and finally found its true footing in commercial aviation with Boeing Air Transport. One of the key factors in the company's rise to prominence was its fearlessness to innovate and stay ahead of the market. Taking to the skies was a daunting prospect, but it became the definitive method by which the company achieved prominence. As the new decade dawned with the development of new equipment, earning the public's trust became paramount. The Boeing 247, when it flew in 1933, was incredibly significant, designed to carry more passengers, be faster, and be easier to maneuver. But why was it so important? At the time, there was a great deal of mistrust in engines and their reliability, so this airplane was powered by two engines that could operate with just one, instilling a great deal of confidence and safety. This quickly established Boeing as the developer of the world's fastest and safest commercial airplane. As a result, instead of looking inward, a total of 60 planes of this model were built and distributed to United Airlines, creating an imbalance with its competitors. Everything seemed on track for Boeing to become the world's premier airline, dominating the mail, passenger, and even arms markets. However, the Airmail Act of 1934 went into effect, prohibiting commercial control within a single company. As a result, the company split into three parts: Boeing Airplane Company, United Airlines, and United Aircraft Corporation, the latter of which eventually merged with Raytheon Technologies. The split of Boeing led to William Boeing's departure from the company, and its leadership fell into the hands of Claire Edved, who focused on designing and developing even larger airplanes to carry more passengers. This was done through a strategic partnership with Pan Am, resulting in the development of the Boeing 314 Clipper in 1938, the largest aircraft to date, with the capacity for more passengers and successful transoceanic crossings. This was another significant milestone for the company. Arriving finally in 1940, the beginning of the Second World War, the company once again bolstered its defense industry with strength and innovation, deploying large and massive bombers such as the B-17 Flying Fortress. and the B-29 Superfortress, contributing significantly to the United States war effort. With an impressive production rate of 350 aircraft per month, it became one of the most important military contractors throughout the war, underscoring the importance it would hold for the next 50 years. Just as in the 1950s during the Cold War, while continuing to advance in the construction of more powerful commercial aircraft, such as the Boeing 707 and the development of the first guided missiles. In the 1960s, they would create their most important and iconic aircraft, the Boeing 727, which was highly significant and represented a historic milestone in the aerospace industry, not only for the size of the aircraft, but also for the monumental infrastructure involved in its manufacture, such as the creation of the gigantic factory in Everett, Washington. In the 1970s, they made significant improvements in hydrofoil design, while in the 1980s they developed projects like the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit and continued their expansion into commercial aircraft development with models like the Boeing 757 and 767. They also invested in technologies such as wind turbines. Finally, we reached the 1990s, where the company seemed to be at its peak with the launch of the Boeing 777, an airplane that introduced technological advancements like fly-by-wire and set new standards for efficiency and passenger comfort. But like Icarus, who came so close to the sun that he burned himself, the power of this company went a little too far. Boeing announced in December 1996 that it intended to merge with McDonnell Douglas, and after a long delay, the merger was finalized on August 4, 1997, after receiving regulatory approval. The European Commission had objected to the merger, but in the end added 3 conditions on the approval. Exclusivity agreements with 3 U.S. airlines would be terminated, separate accounts would be kept for the McDonnell Douglas civil aircraft business, and competitors would have access to some defense patents. These conditions were the main cause of the delay. The 2000s were not very good for the company, being one of its most declining moments to date. Of course, we cannot say that all was bad. As one of the giants, they still managed to innovate in many aspects, such as the development of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and the acquisition of Aragon ST Inc. However, the company was involved in certain scandals and problems. One of these was the problems they faced in the early 21st century, such as losing market leadership, falling behind other companies that were much more powerful and innovative, such as Airbus SAS in 2003. Aspects such as what happened with the Sonic Cruiser, which was an airplane designed to reduce travel times, but during those years the September 11th attacks occurred, which affected the entire industry, preventing innovation with a faster airplane, and they had to cancel the airplane's existence altogether. They tried with the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, but it didn't meet the deadlines because of all the delays in its development and production. However, a clear decline was evident in the unethical behavior that surfaced in 2003 when the company faced strong allegations of corruption in connection with a lease contract for KC-767 tanker aircraft for the U.S. Air Force. This led to the resignation of the CEO and the dismissal of the company's CFO. Cases of industrial espionage were also uncovered in the competition for military satellite launch contracts, resulting in sanctions and debarments by the Pentagon. In June 2003, the company faced a lawsuit from Lockheed Martin, another aerospace and defense company with vast resources in advanced technology and global warfare. This stemmed from Boeing's use of industrial espionage around 1998 to gain an edge in the battle for technological advancements. Kenneth Branch, while working for McDonnell Douglas and Boeing, obtained over 30,000 pages of documents from Lockheed, leading to Boeing's punishment. Some concessions granted to Lockheed were revoked, in addition to being banned from participating in rocket development contracts for over 20 months, a severe blow to the industry. But undoubtedly, the critical point came in 2019 when not one, but several accidents occurred in which the company was involved. These included Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, both of which involved Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. These tragic and serious events led to the grounding of the company's flights, and of course, a massive drop in its stock price. In 2020, Quartz, an American digital native news outlet, reported that after the Boeing-McDonnell Douglas merger, there was a clash of corporate cultures between Boeing's engineers and McDonnell Douglas's bean counters, with the latter winning. This may have played a part in what happened before the 737 MAX crash. This was exacerbated by the revelation during the investigation of problems with the certification and entry into service of the 737 MAX, which further fueled controversy and regulatory sanctions. And the focus of these investigations was on the MCAS system, The MCAS, or Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, is a flight stabilizing feature developed by Boeing. The 737 MAX had an FM International LEAP engine. This newer engine was bigger, mounted further forward from the wing, and higher off the ground than on earlier generations of the 737. As a result, Boeing found that the plane tended to push the nose up when it was in a certain part of the flight envelope. When a single angle of attack, or AOA sensor, indicated that the angle was too high, the MCAS system was designed to move the nose back down to its intended angle. The goal of MCAS was to make the plane fly like the former Boeing 737 next-generation planes. The company said that because of this change, pilots would no longer need to learn on the new planes in a simulator, and airlines would not need to pay for the required training for the new 737 MAX planes, which was further incentive to sell the planes to airlines. As an automated corrective measure, the MCAS was initially given full authority to bring the aircraft nose down and could not be overridden by pilot resistance. In addition, pilots were not even aware of the existence of MCAS due to its omission from the crew manual and no coverage in training. It was only after an investigation that Boeing finally admitted the existence of MCAS and its role in both the Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines crashes. The FAA began requiring all MAX pilots to undergo MCAS-related training in flight simulators. In 2024, Boeing was once again in the news for all the wrong reasons. Here is the breakdown of the flurry of headlines that involved Boeing. In January 2024, a Boeing 737 MAX 9 passenger jet operated by Alaska Airlines lost a rear door plug in mid-flight, terrifying people on board. This resulted in the FAA grounding over 171 MAX 9 jets for further inspection. Boeing's safety nightmare continued in March 2024 when a 265-pound wheel fell off a United Airlines Boeing 777 after taking off from San Francisco International Airport, smashing through a fence and into several cars in a nearby parking lot. Also, in March 2024, John Barnett, former Boeing quality control manager who became a whistleblower, was found dead in Charleston, South Carolina, where he once worked at Boeing's large 787 plant. He was due to appear in court to testify on safety concerns in Boeing's commercial airplanes. At least 50 people were hurt in another Boeing incident in March when a Boeing 787 operated by LATAM Airlines experienced strong movement. One passenger told the BBC that the flight just dropped, causing a number of people to slam their heads against the ceiling of the plane. 10 passengers and 3 cabin crew members were reportedly taken to a hospital after the flight made an emergency landing. As a result of all this negative press, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun announced that he would be stepping down at the end of 2024. As you can see, despite attempts at recovery and efforts to remain relevant in the industry, Boeing continues to face a steadily declining market and significant consequences from its past actions. The company is at a critical juncture. Public confidence in the safety of its airlines appear to be, for the time being, shaken. The story of Boeing is a hard blow to the industry, as it was once a darling of the airspace, but is now marred by scandal. What do you think? Are you concerned about flying on Boeing planes given the recent scandals? Does this impact your flying and travel habits? Leave a comment below, and be sure to check out the thumbnail on your screen for another captivating story. We'll see you there.